5 men walk into a freezing blizzard. One of them will spend the next 3 months slowly starving to death inside an unlocked Forest Service trailer, surrounded by a year's worth of military food rations he never opens, matches he never strikes, and a gas heater he never turns on. 2 of them will be found scattered in the snow miles away, their bodies scavenged by forest animals. 1 will be reduced to nothing but bones, and the 5th will vanish from the face of the earth, leaving behind nothing but his shoes. But the most terrifying part of this mystery isn't how they died. It's how they got there. On a freezing night in 1978, these 5 men abandoned a perfectly working car with plenty of gas and 0 damage. They left the doors unlocked and the keys in the ignition, stepped out into a pitch-black wilderness, and hiked 19 miles straight into a mountain winter storm. They had no coats, they had no map, they had no reason to be there. This is the story of the Yuba County Five. It is a tragedy of impossible choices, a silent witness in the dark, and a timeline that completely defies human logic. If you like deep dives like this, hit subscribe and leave a comment as we go. Let's go back to the beginning. To understand how this happened, you have to understand who these men were. In their hometown of Yuba City, California, they were simply known as the Boys. Ages 24 to 32, they were a tight-knit group of friends who spent almost all their time together. Because several of them lived with cognitive or psychiatric challenges, they relied heavily on structured daily routines and, above all, an intense, protective loyalty to one another. There was Bill Sterling, deeply religious and quiet, Jack Hewitt, who relied closely on his family and friends for support, Ted Wire, a warm, friendly giant beloved by his community, and Jack Madruga, a proud Army veteran who was the only one with a driver's license. And then there was Gary Mathias. Also an Army veteran, Gary was a highly functional, central anchor of the group. He managed a severe schizophrenia diagnosis with daily medication, and the Boys looked up to him as a natural protector. On the night of February 24th, 1978, everything was perfect. Their Special Olympics basketball team, the Gateway Gators, had a major tournament the next morning. Their uniforms were packed, their bags were by the door, and they were ready. At 8 p.m., the 5 men piled into Jack Madruga's beloved turquoise Mercury Montego and drove 50 miles north to Chico, California, to watch a college basketball game. They had a blast. Their team won. Immediately after the game, they stopped at a local market. They bought Hostess cupcakes, Snickers bars, and cartons of milk. The drive back to Yuba City was a straight, easy 50-minute shot south down a well-lit highway. They should have been home before midnight, but they didn't go south. For reasons that still puzzle investigators to this day, the car steered east, directly toward the towering, desolate Sierra Nevada mountains. None of them lived there. None of them had family there. They were driving away from safety, straight into a brewing winter storm. High up the mountain, at an elevation of 4,400 feet, the road became impassable. The Mercury became stuck in a snowdrift. But here is the critical detail. The car was not damaged. It wasn't even truly trapped. Police later proved that a simple push from the 5 men would have easily cleared the tires. Yet they left the keys in the ignition. They left the car unlocked. They didn't even eat most of their snacks. They simply stepped out of the warm vehicle and walked directly into a pitch-black, freezing forest. What happened next is a descent into madness. That same night, a local man named Joseph Shons had suffered a heart attack while trying to free his own car nearby. As he lay in his vehicle in agonizing pain, he saw headlights behind him and a group of figures walking in the dark. Shons screamed for help. He swore he saw a group of people, including what looked like a woman holding a baby, walking in the light. But when he called out, the headlights instantly shut off, and the figures vanished into the dark. Were the Boys running from someone? Or, in the freezing cold and darkness, were they already too disoriented to hear his cries? It took nearly 4 months for the snow to melt enough for search parties to reach the deep wilderness. What they found shattered the families. 19 miles from where they abandoned their car, searchers found the Forest Service trailer. Inside was Ted Wire. He was wrapped in 8 heavy blankets, having lost over half his body weight. He had survived on nothing but water for up to 13 weeks before freezing to death. But the trailer's pantry was unlocked. It contained enough military rations to keep him alive for a year. A locker outside held matches and propane. Yet Ted, who was known to be meticulously obedient to rules, never touched them. It was as if, without a familiar guide or authority figure, he believed he wasn't permitted to. The search eventually revealed the rest of the grim timeline. Jack Madruga and Bill Sterling were found 4 miles from the car, their bodies scavenged by forest animals. Jack Hewitt's bones were found close to the trailer. Gary Mathias was never found. Only his empty shoes were discovered nearby. One theory suggests a tragic medical emergency occurred. Gary Mathias, only planning to be gone for a few hours, had left his crucial daily medication at home. Trapped in a freezing wilderness, he likely suffered a severe delusion. And the boys, who had always trusted Gary as their protector, may have followed him deeper into the dark, staying by his side out of pure, unwavering loyalty, completely unaware of the medical crisis unfolding in his mind until the cold took them one by one. We know how they died, but we will never truly know why they chose to walk into the dark.